Okay, and we are live.
All right. And I don't have a copy of the agenda because
it's in front of you, Pam.
oh. All right, let me. Okay. Take it away, Jane, with the roll call.
Okay. Pam Weil.
Here.
Chuck Overby.
Here.
EJ Buss. Merle Heidemann.
Here.
John Novello.
Here.
Alex Smith.
Here.
Okay. Approval of the agenda. Somebody want to move it?
I'll move it. Second.
Any discussion or anything else? All those in favor of moving it? Aye.
Aye.
Not hearing any opposed? How about approval of the minutes? Somebody want to move them?
So moved. I'll second.
Okay, any discussion, alterations, corrections? All right, shall we move those? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, hearing no nays, we move on to who's going to introduce the new member?
Pam, I can do that. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Ron Bacon. He's the most recent city council members that was appointed by the other three council members, maybe 3-4 weeks ago now. And Councilmember Bacon will serve as the liaison to this commission, effective last week, I think, when they approved it. And Councilmember Bacon, I don't know if you'd like to provide a little bit of background, and
Sure.
do you want us to go around the table or around the screen or whatever?
Well, let me give you my background first, and you guys can introduce everyone to me, but I'll let you know kind of who I am. Ron Bacon, council person. I've been around this area for about, I believe, 12 years now in East Lansing. I have 3 children, no longer children in the district. I have my youngest now is a junior at East Lansing High School. I'm a varsity assistant football coach at East Lansing High School. I have a real affinity for Parks and Rec. Like I was talking to Tim about, we got to make a list and kind of duke it out for which things. You guys are literally on that list. This wasn't some kind of, yeah, I love the parks, and I grew up in parks. I'm from Jackson, Michigan. Grew up around recreational sports and activities and all that kind of stuff. That was kind of my jam. And I really support it and just want to be a great liaison to you guys, whatever we can do to support you. And talking to Tim, obviously, the most important thing is how to fund things and figuring out, how not to have things that are mandated that aren't paid for. So that's going to be important, that we figure out ways to, like, the best word I can say is liquefy you guys. And because I know there's a lot of good vision in here, and I believe parks are next to schools are the most important things for property values so I'm pragmatic about it. I think it adds so much value, and per our discussion, I think it's even more valuable because, like myself, I never used walking trails before. I never did any of this stuff pre-COVID. Now I do. I'm probably 100% more outdoors than I ever was before. So I think we have a unique opportunity right now, but because people are rediscovering being outdoors and being in parks and doing those kind of things, I think that's only gonna go up even post-COVID. I think we're just at the beginning of something great, rediscovery of Michigan and East Lansing. So excited to work with you guys, whatever I can do. Best way, you can always email me stuff, or you can just call me. I'll pretty much always pick you up. My day job, I'm in biotech. So I work for Genentech Roche. So I am one of the companies that's trying to figure out this COVID thing. That's what I do during the day. So I know quite a bit about COVID too, if you ever just want to talk about that.
No more COVID.
So yeah, I'm just here for you. I'm really excited to be part of this group. And this was my one 1A on my list as we were pulling for. I was just excited and really excited to work with you guys. We'll have to depart a little bit early today. We have some prep to do tomorrow. Tomorrow is the interviews for police chief. And so there's a bunch of preparation for the interviews tomorrow. So I have to jump off a little early, but just know I'm with you. It's not, I don't want to be rude or anything. If you see me jump off, that was why. So.
Right. Good. So do we want to do a round robin intro? Is that good with everybody? I'm Pam Weil. I'm the current chair, and I'm an East Lansing lifer. And I spent many years on the Am County Parks Board. And I would love to see the city of East Lansing and the city council depend more on its commissions and let us help you, do stuff. So let us advise you and pass stuff up and that sort of thing. So, and that's going to come up later in this meeting too. So.
Agreed. There
All
you
right.
go. You have a supporter.
All right, good. Chuck, you want to go next?
I will. Ron, I'm Chuck Overby. I'm the vice chair of the commission. I'm in my first term. I'm an avid user of the services. I was out on the Northern Tier Trail this afternoon, and I'm looking forward to the Hannah Center opening up for swimming again. I swam every day when Hannah was open. I'm a 14-year resident of East Lansing, retired from the state of Michigan. I agree with you on issues of funding and trying to find ways to adequately fund the services that we have and maintain the services that we have. And I look forward to working with you, Ron.
Thank you.
Alex?
Sure, yeah. Hi, Ron. My name's Alex Smith. One of I think our newest commissioner here. This is my 4th meeting. Just counted on the hand. We had a little gap there, obviously, for a while, but I was part of the East Lansing Emerging Leaders Program last year and found this to be a great opportunity upcoming this year, and really excited, obviously, to continue learning more about what the commission does and to get more involved in it. But like everyone else has said already, love the parks. I live in the Bailey neighborhood, so I'm really excited to see all the new improvements at Bailey Park here, but love using all the parks around town and occasionally, finding a new one that's tucked in there every now and then. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
All right, John?
Hey, Ron, my name's John Novello. I've been in East Lansing for 21 years, I think now. I grew up in Hazlet, actually, so I'm local anyway, nearby. Used to work in Jackson, actually, like 20 years ago, worked at Foot Hospital, which is no longer Foot Hospital. I'm a mental health counselor. I work at Michigan State University now in their employee assistance program. And I've got 3 kids, 15, 18, and 20. And spent a lot of time in parks over the 20 years that we've been here, and so that's what drew me to wanting to be a part of this. So welcome. I'm super excited about your energy. That's super awesome. So thanks for being here, man. It's awesome.
Pearl?
I'm Merle Heidemann. I am retired from the College of Natural Science at MSU, and I spent a lot of time on my bicycle riding around town.
Great. And have you met Wendy? Wendy?
Hi, Wendy.
Jane?
Hi, Jane.
And Justin?
Sorry. Hi, Ron.
Hi.
Jane, Wendy is our deputy or assistant director of Parks and Recreation. Jane is administrative services coordinator for our department, and Justin Dranke is community events and park stewardship specialist. He also has served as a Zoom meeting facilitator for not just us, but you're going to run into Justin quite a bit because he's going to do the facilitation for the police oversight, and I think he's done it for the Human Resources Commission and other commissions also.
It's awesome, Justin. You look like all the hackers in all the movies. I feel in good hands with you controlling Zoom.
Something like that. It's juggling 2 phones and 2 computers at the same time and making
I love
it work.
Okay, well, Jane, can you put the agenda back up? I'm sorry. So my desktop's coming up. What's our next item?
Public comment.
Oh, public comment. Do we have any public, Justin?
There's currently nobody in the queue. We are working with a slight technical difficulty that we're trying to troubleshoot still, with a few individuals unable to call in. So if we are able to get that resolved, I will let you know and we can circle back to that on the agenda.
All righty.
Okay. Justin, could you put the agenda back up, please?
Okay, the motion to support the recommendation of the Park Naming Committee. And you know what, I'm gonna, Tim will want to talk about this, and then I'm also gonna hand this over to Chuck because that's his committee. So take it away, Tim and Chuck.
Yeah, if I could just provide a little bit of an introduction. You received three letters in your packet. The first letter was from Diane Gadaris, former mayor, who chaired the park naming committee. Then there's a second letter from our commission chair, Pam, to City Council, that you asked Pam to put together at the last meeting in preparation for tonight's motion. And then there's a letter from Mayor Stevens to the committee, letting them know the status that they did receive the recommendations, and that City Council has not done anything with those, but they would certainly let the committee know what they plan to do once they take that item up. But then, as Pam indicated, Chuck was the representative from this commission on that committee, and Chuck, I'm sure you want to add a little bit.
Just briefly, I asked to be on the park naming committee for several reasons, but one is I can look out my window and see the Bailey Park. The committee had several recommendations that we made to the city. The primary one was to retain the name of the Bailey Park as the Bailey Park. And our reasons for that were twofold. One was the historical precedent in the neighborhood of the name of the Bailey Park and our desire to keep that name and its historical meaning in the neighborhood. The second reason was the strong support of the neighborhood for retaining the name of the Bailey Park. I'm also a member of the Bailey Community Association, and we unanimously supported keeping the name of the Bailey Park in the Bailey Community Association, and made that recommendation to the City Council. So in addition to a recommendation that we retain the name of the Bailey Park, we also addressed the whole issue of the city's process and procedures for naming public properties after people in the city who've made significant contributions. And what we saw was a weakness in the process and the procedures that did not allow for an inventory, so to speak, of all of the city properties available that could be named after prominent East Lansing citizens. And then the issue of weighing all of the various people that might qualify for those honors to be named, to have one of the city properties named after them. So we pointed out to the City Council in our letter those weaknesses of the process, and really recommended that this process be looked at in addition to requiring greater opportunity for public input into the process, so that it's not just, I think that a certain person should have a park named after them and then the council votes up or down. So you can certainly read the recommendation itself, but that's the gist of the recommendations that we made, and it was unanimous in the committee that we made these recommendations.
And one of the things that I was hoping and I would like to see us do, and in the letter Aaron sent, was the idea that maybe, and I'm not saying Chuck has to go back and reformulate that committee, but maybe actually recommend some wording, a modification to the existing procedure for naming that would include the excellent recommendations from the naming committee. And so then we could pass that up. This is an example that we could pass that up to the city council and you guys could take a look at it and the work would be done instead of trying to put that back on the council.
Pam, can I make a recommendation with respect to that?
Very much, yes, please.
For the commission's consideration. So perhaps Chuck and staff can work together on that language if Chuck is so inclined to do that. And then this could be on the October agenda for providing that suggested language that would achieve some of the components of the recommendation.
Tim, I would be honored to and glad to work on that.
That's great. I'd like to get all that work codified, you know, and like not just have it go into the ether, but let's get it captured. And thanks, Chuck. That would be great.
To clarify, what we're talking about is to make a recommendation on how the procedures and policies might be changed in the city's in the city's requirements. I think that's what we were talking about.
Right, and actually proposing some modified language. I would suggest we do that.
Right.
So it's all primed and ready for them to discuss, modify, and go, so we can get it.
Right. I did that kind of work in my 43 years with state government, so I'm glad to try and help out.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, so we've got a motion to formalize our support for the subcommittee's recommendation. Does someone want to move that?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it's unanimous. So we'll be moving the motion. And I guess my question might be, do we want to send this ASAP or do we want to wait until we have the additional information?
Can I suggest that we go ahead and send it right now?
Sure. Okay, yeah, that's the city process question.
We'll provide when we forward that on to city council, we'll provide a backup memo that tells them what the commission has suggested to do, and that'll be included with the motion then. And staff.
Okay. Great, Tim. That's great.
That's an approach that I support.
Great, good, Chuck, thanks. All right, moving on to trust fund ballot proposal. You want to talk about that, Tim?
If I could provide just a little bit of background with respect to that, many of the commissioners or several of the commissioners will remember that this is a topic that's been coming up for a number of years. And it finally got to the point where the state legislature went ahead and put it on the ballot as a statewide initiative. What it really does is it changes the formula for funding. And instead of saying for development projects, the trust fund will fund up to 25%. It changes the language to say at least 25% of the funds will go towards development projects. And it changes the, it leaves at least 25% for land acquisition in the language. And it increases the, what the staff over at the DNR like to call the corpus, I think from 500 million to 800 million. So that allows for more funds to be available in the trust fund before the funds automatically go to state parks. So the changes in the trust fund funding capabilities from the city of East Lansing's perspective, in my view, it makes more funds available for development projects, which right now the development project component is extremely competitive. It's competitive again this year. And that's where, as those of you that have been on the commission for any period of time know, that I continue to harp on the Natural Resource Trust Fund has been the most consistent funding source for us to move forward with projects in my entire tenure with the city of East Lansing, which has been, in excess now of 20 years. So what this would do is there's a resolution in there that the State Parks and Recreation Association has provided boilerplate language. We put some local language in there. And if the commission wants to support this resolution, then our commission then would be added to sort of the names of various organizations that support this this ballot measure. So we would provide that to the state association. So however the commission would like to move forward, and if there's any questions that I can answer, I'll try to, and if I can't answer, we'll certainly get you the information.
Could we see the ballot language? I think the ballot language was on the screen just a moment ago.
Yeah, the proposal, it's the next one down, Justin. There you go.
There, thank you.
I've got, now Tim, does this point more monies to communities as opposed to state parks? Is that correct as well?
It identifies, I think, in a minimum amount that would go to state parks, but more money would be available to communities, provided that at least 25% or 25% number was exceeded. And that would, yes, provide more funds for local governments.
Than the current state, than the current.
Than the current amount, yes.
And I understand that it's on the ballot because it's a modification of the Constitution, state Constitution.
That's correct, right.
Yeah, where it was unanimously supported by the Michigan legislature.
Right. And if it doesn't pass, it's not going to eliminate the Natural Resources Trust Fund. What it does is it leaves if it doesn't pass, it leaves the language the same. It leaves it in as it exists today. This would be providing some language that, again, would be more favorable towards local government.
Any other? Oh, go ahead.
The heart of this proposal is it's shifting money from the state parks to used by local communities. I think that's it. Do I understand that
Right.
correctly?
Right.
Right.
But the state parks aren't necessarily losers in this either. It just provides more options to the Natural Resources Trust Fund Board to get more money to local parks.
Yeah, wasn't there some issue about the percentage that they could spend out of the trust fund? Like they had to leave it, was it at a level, but then this will allow them to take more?
Yes, because what ended up happening is they got to the limit that they could hold in the corpus, or the fund, if you will.
Yeah.
And once it exceeded that, then all funds went to state parks. In this case, it makes that number $300 million higher, which leaves more money in the trust fund, which would go to which would make more funds available for local government.
Okay. All right. In the long term. All righty. Do we want to bring up the resolution? That's the next page.
Can I suggest that we did make some minor revisions in the 1, 2, 3, the fourth whereas. We adjusted the dollar amount from what was in your packet, and we added more projects.
All right.
Right.
Any other discussion? Does someone want to move it?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Say nay. Hearing none, passed unanimously. Justin tells me we have some public comment.
Yes, perfect. There's a caller in the queue with phone number ending in 534. Phone number ending in 534, you are permitted to unmute and address the commission. To unmute, please dial *6.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. This is Ann Hill, 685 Buteo. I'm trying to make sure that I've got a clear understanding of the Northern Tier Trail that needs to be redone. I believe you talked about it the last few meetings, and I just wasn't sure that I had a clear understanding. So from the Ingham County portion of this project, which runs along the Chandler Drain, was that completed in 2018 or 2019? I'll just continue. How much of the funding was provided either by Ingham County, because I think it was Ingham County Trails millage, or any other source? I thought I heard the figure of about 300,000. Again, I could be wrong. That's the purpose for calling in, to make sure I have a clear understanding. And then, if memory serves me right, I thought one of the Parks and Rec commissioners said that they found the trail dangerous and it made him uncomfortable. I've walked the Ingham County portion of the Northern Trail several times trying to find an area that was dangerous or uncomfortable, and I couldn't find anything. And there were folks going in both directions on bikes, and there were folks that were walking in both directions. You know, clearly we've got that 10-foot width. So if someone could either help me to better understand as far as landmarks, or even better yet, if they wanted to meet me out there and, you know, and show me in person, that would be terrific. Excuse me. If the proposed redo of the newly paved trail, how much is it going to cost in the upcoming? And again, if memory serves me correctly, the new funding for the redo was also being provided by Ingham County in that millage. And if that could be confirmed or have my understanding corrected, that would be great. And it just seems, and again, I could be totally misunderstanding, but it just seems like it's a huge amount of money to have spent to put that trail down in the first place and then tear it up only to move it just a couple feet.
Okay, you know, let's have Wendy answer you. I'm assuming, Wendy, you have some answers on this?
And
When it was done? And
can I try first and then?
oh, sure, Tim, sorry.
So yes, it was either 2018 or in 2000, a combination between 2018 and 2019. All of the funds for that project were Ingham County Trails and Park Millage funds. The section of trail that we're talking about realigning is south of the soccer complex and north of the trailhead that connects back to Abbey Drive. The problem that exists is, and this is where I may ask Wendy to help me out here, but it gets real close to the drain where there's a very steep drop off in a number of places. So the idea is to realign the trail further away from the drain. And we requested funds from the Ingham County Trails and Parks, from Ingham County Parks Commission and the Ingham County Board of Commissioners. And the Ingham County Board of Commission and Parks Commission provided those funds for us. The section of trail also, yes, it was it was not new trail. It was trail that had some, like the rest of the trail, we put some new surfacing over some surfacing over it, and there was some cracks that were filled and things of that nature. But the idea here is to realign that trail. So I believe that answers the questions, and staff can meet and out at the site at some point in the future if she'd like.
Does that address your concerns? You have a couple more minutes. I wanted to try and get the answer in.
Well, so how much is it going to cost to do the redo? And have we looked at other options that might not be quite as expensive? Because we've done paving here in Hawk Nest, and I know how expensive it is. And it just seems like that if there are other options, because again, I've been up and down the trail line trying to find this area that is of concern with the steep drop off, and I just don't see it. So how much how much are they funding for the redo to tear it up and repave it?
And Wendy, how much do we have in there for the realignment? Do you recall?
We received an additional allocation from the millage of $300,000. Of that allocation, $30,000 is going to go towards crack sealing and repairing some of the cracks that migrated through the new layer of asphalt. So about $30,000 is going towards that. And then about $170,000 will go towards alignment of the trail. We did look at a lot of different options, actually. We looked at the option of putting some additional split rail fence along the length of trail that is closest to the drain. And actually, because it is so close to the drain, there wasn't a way that we could put fence in a fashion that it would stay up. We were concerned it would fall down into the drain. We also looked at some retaining walls. That was not an option that the Ingham County Drain Commissioner found acceptable. We looked at establishing a vegetative barrier using some different landscape techniques. And again, that was something that was not acceptable to the Ingham County Drain Commission. So this was the resolution that was recommended by the Drain Commission, or supported by the Drain Commission, and funded by the Ingham County Trails millage.
Okay, well, thanks. And I appreciate your call. And Tim said, call the office and someone will be happy to arrange, meet up with you and walk you through the area.
Pam, can I speak up briefly?
Sure, Chuck.
I'd like to comment as a commission member and as a biker who uses the Northern Tier Trail practically every day. And the section that Tim described on the Northern Tier Trail doesn't have an edge, so that if you are forced off of the trail by circumstances, inattentive people on the trail or other circumstances, there is no shoulder for you to ride off of the trail on your bike. I have been forced off the trail by circumstances multiple times, and that section, it just doesn't have a shoulder. And if I'm forced off of the trail on that section as a bicyclist, I'm going to end up in the drain. Now, fortunately, I know how to swim, but I believe it's unsafe, and it feels unsafe to me as a bicyclist as I used that section. So that's my concern, and I, as a bicyclist and a commission member, appreciate the recognition that this is not safe and that there is a remedy that makes not only me, but every single person that walks and bikes on the trail safer.
All right, thanks for sharing that, Chuck, and thanks for your call. All right, now consideration for advancing parks projects and initiatives. Now, I know John Novello is particularly interested in this, and I hope we can come up with a process and start working a process that will get us into this and get some tangible outputs.
Justin, do you have the slideshow?
Yes, just one moment.
And John, this is only the beginning, and so I hope that whatever input, ideas you have, things you'd like to see, and goes for the rest of the commissioners as well, that we start maybe looking at a budget.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Process and.
Yeah, this is just, I mean, I think that was the idea of even bringing it up, is that we would have an opportunity to just begin a dialogue. It doesn't have to be decided at any one time. So
of course, but I would like to come up with a process, like some kind of framework that then, so we can say, okay, we're doing this at this point. So I don't want it just to be a dialogue. I want some concretes coming out of it.
So yeah, once we get that up, that'll provide sort of.
I did not receive a PowerPoint slide for this meeting.
Oh, you did not? Okay.
We can talk about it Tim, because we're just starting. What were we kind of looking at? The current capital
Okay.
improvement list?
Well, if the commissioners will recall, we provided a list of, or a number of considerations that we make when we look at initiating projects. And those considerations include such things as existing conditions. It included whether there's funding that exists and through what funding sources do those exist. Community input and what have you. And I think John was concerned, and John and I spoke about it, about that's oftentimes we see the projects where folks seem to have access and capability to move things forward, and perhaps some folks that represent marginalized communities within East Lansing may not have that same access. And so we may be lacking some access and equity and inclusivity in our considerations. So if you remember, we outlined each one of those various considerations. If we've used in the past, we want to add a consideration that is entitled something along the lines of equity, inclusivity, and access. And how that looks today is we really don't know, but that's something that we will certainly need to be working on. I would suggest as a starting point, first of all, diversity, equity, and inclusion is a big initiative in the city of East Lansing right now. The city council and the city manager are putting a considerable amount of effort into that on a citywide basis. And you may or may not know, but Elaine Hardy, who's been on our staff in the Department of Parks and Recreation for almost 20 years, has accepted the position of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Administrator for the city of East Lansing. So Elaine is tasked with working on these types of things. And
Tim, what did she do for the parks?
Elaine Hardy was our community center coordinator.
She ran Hannah Center.
Oh, that woman. Okay, all right. Interesting.
So here's the considerations that I was referencing. So the idea is we've historically used all of those considerations. Now we add access, equity, and inclusiveness. And we've gone through all of those things, perhaps at the staff level, but not necessarily formalized those with the commission when we put a project forward. So one of the things I'm giving consideration to and wanted to bounce off of this commission is, okay, we demonstrate how we've gone through all of these considerations as we propose a project or a series of projects during mainly the capital improvement portion of the budget. Getting back to the access, equity, and inclusiveness, I've been doing a little bit of work with respect to that, and I'm finding out that's going to really help in terms of getting folks involved in the community and getting the community involved in participation. And how it looks in November, December when we start preparing the budget for 2022 is probably not near as robust as it may be as we look a year later and perhaps a year after that. But that's a starting point, and just keep putting information incrementally in front of the commission and see where we go from there.
Well, and I'm hoping that, I got two comments. One, I'm hoping that we'll come up with process that will allow community input and getting it in front of a bunch of different people before, like maybe with a preliminary list, like a wish list, like kind of like we did with the master plan, that we make sure that really early in the process that we're actively engaging people, not waiting until we're already it's worth that, you know, later when it's already, these things are going to be funded, so that we get people percolating projects up and through.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. And I think the idea then, what I would say in that is, you know, how do we then increase the different kinds of voices that might be able to speak to these things, right? Different people who have different ideas about what it would be, but people that may not necessarily know that they have access or don't have access easily, right? So to sort of have a wider net and to be intentional about that, I think that requires a certain amount of intentionality from the commission to invite voices. It's not just like, I think the challenge is like you put something on a website, right? And then and you say, okay, well, people can do public comment and come up with ideas, right? And that's going to be a limited number of people. Like some people will see that, but it doesn't necessarily represent a wide and inclusive group of folks. So I think that would be an interesting part of the process. Is there a way that we can be kind of brainstorm, you know, ways to just increase the numbers of voices, the different kinds of voices that we could have in this dialogue? You know, how do we get creative about that? You know, and you know, I'm always somebody that loves the idea of kind of looking what other folks have done. Why reinvent the wheel if other people have done this? You know, and I know Tim, you last time had said that Parks and Rec as a thing in the United States is getting very into this, like they're thinking a lot about this. So I wonder if there might be some other models that we can use from similar communities like ours, you know, that has a complicated history with oppressive systems that's trying to work itself and deal with that, to find a way to bring in new voices. You know, who else has done this? You know, I'm just curious, like maybe even Big Ten schools, like communities like it. Well, that's complicated too, because Big Ten is sometimes they're in cities and we're not really a city. I mean, we're a city, East Lansing, but we feel different, right? Like so something, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's kind of my opinion. That's the intentionality behind like creating space and bringing in people, bringing in voices seems really important.
Any other comments?
And can I add to that? We did provide to the commission following the last meeting those documents from National Recreation and Park Association, I believe, the inclusion documents.
Oh, I don't know. Make sure we get all those and this too.
Yeah, we got them. We did get them. Yeah, actually, I'd forgotten about that. That's right.
That was last month?
Yeah, last month. So the thing about that is that's idea setting, if you will. It's boilerplate kind of stuff. So but it gives some good suggestions. Now, just yesterday, I read a document, and I'll forward that piece that I read too, if I can find it again. The city of Milwaukee is looking at how they would move forward with that based on some work that they've done. Very robust, that there's swiping, if you will, from, I think, the city of Seattle and some other larger urban communities. So these larger urban communities are starting to get, are further ahead. I guess the bad news for an organization like us is we don't have those kinds of resources, but the good news for us is we're much smaller, which gives us the opportunity to kind of be more nimble and start, maybe do some things that'll work, find out what works and move forward with it. And if something doesn't work, then say, well, we tried that, we're not doing that again, kind of thing. So, but I can provide that too. And I would imagine start as soon as November, we'll have some starting points for, because we'll be starting to work towards the following fiscal year budget.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got those documents, by the way, Pam, on the 24th of August, and
Yeah,
they're nice. I mean, you're right. They're sort of boilerplate, but it's a nice. I'd forgotten about those, and those are really. I appreciate you sending those.
The National Park and Rec magazine has reoccurring articles too on this subject. Do other people get a copy of that? Have you guys joined? Look at.
They should all have membership to that. And actually, I think it was just this last issue of that magazine was dedicated to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Access.
It's got Black Lives on the cover right there. So, yeah, but you know, and I'm still on that AARP, age-friendly community. A lot of recommendations in there and things to consider. But yeah, I'd love for us to get like a process going where this budget, but in the future where here, you know, we maybe visit some AARP meetings, some differently able groups, some student groups, whatever we, you know, and get their, like maybe their fantasy list, wish list, make sure we, you know, invite them to join the commission, that sort of thing. But
Sure.
yeah, nice. This looks good. Okay. Oh, and hey, what about filling her position? That's kind of, is that an issue?
Well, what we're doing right now is obviously with the building closed down, the best alternative for us was to take the responsibilities of the position and kind of dole them out at this point. So
Something to think about. It's a critical linchpin. All right. Any more discussion on this? And you know, can we have an item next month too? And maybe
I'll tell you what, if maybe what we can do is sort of, I'll make a commitment to sort of like doing, kind of looking more into the reading. And Tim, if you want to send the stuff from Milwaukee, I'd really be interested in taking a look at that. And
sure.
Maybe what I could do is even like kind of report a little bit back on sort of what that says and generate some conversation about, you know, coming up with, again, I think you're right, Tim. I love the idea of sort of just starting with some things to try, and it doesn't mean that we have to get it right the first time, right? I think we need to be in a position of being curious and open and willing to change without feeling like we have to get it right, because then that freezes us from action. So yeah, I love that idea. And so if we can just start with a position of starting to think about what, you know.
Yeah, we would welcome that, and staff is here to help you out with that too, if you want, John.
Great, thank you.
all right, good.
John, thank you for bringing this up. This is really important and you have my support on it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Thank you all. This is cool. This is exciting.
All right, staff communication and director's report.
Okay, I think I don't think, we did send the commission the news release that went out late last week on the partial reopening of the community center. So we're starting the partial reopening of the community center on Monday, September 20th.
Oh, Chuck.
Yeah,
I'm excited, I'll tell you. No more swimming in the bathtub.
The big thing with that is the opening up of the fitness center, and the fitness center in the first phase will be available 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then there's Saturday and Sunday hours also. We're limiting attendance to 8 persons at a time in the fitness center by reservation. So if you're a fitness center user, you are requesting that you make a reservation to use the fitness center. The gymnasium, the use of the gymnasium is going to be limited to evening hours, and it will be for fitness classes. So we're not opening up initially for competitive, recreational sports. Like, we're not going to have drop-in basketball initially. We're not going to have pickleball and things of that nature. The gymnasium right now is being used during the day for our remote learning program, which we have about between 30 and 36 kids a day going actually full day. And I think we talked about it last month, that we were going to initiate this full day to allow their parents to be able to go to work. So we've got about 30 families availing themselves of this opportunity. And we've got them located in the probably northern section, if you will, of the community center, first floor and second floor. And we want to keep everything, whatever activity we do get going, we want to keep separated from them. The second phase of the partial reopening would be the swimming pool. And that's scheduled right now for Monday, September 28th. And again, that'll be we're requesting that users make reservations. Attendance will be limited. We'll have lap swim, we'll have adult swim classes, and we'll have the master swim class, family swim, on Saturdays and Sundays. Once again, all limited. I think the family swim will be limited to like 15 persons. Now, the week of October 5th until Election Day, we are going to be a satellite office for the city clerk's office. So that's where a lot of our attention in terms of being able to accommodate the national election, a lot of our attention, our priority is going to make sure we provide as safe environment as we can for the satellite city clerk's office for that month. And when we get to early November, we're planning at this time to be able to start doing swim class, or excuse me, some of our enrichment classes, recreation classes, arts classes, and what have you. And also start looking again at rental reservation opportunities in the community center. Now, everything that I've just said is always subject to change, as everyone knows, given the environment that we're in 2020. So we're hoping that all of this will come together and we'll be able to implement this schedule. Of the myriad of schedules we've put together so far since this whole situation has started, we've not been able to implement one of them as planned. But maybe this one will be the one that we can hatch and actually start working towards. None of this activity will get us anywhere close to the volume of use that we're accustomed to having in that building. This will all be way below what we're accustomed to having in that building. And based on what we can see right now is, we're several months away from getting back to regular use. We have received a lot of calls this week. People are excited about the opportunity to come back, and we're excited too, but we're cautious and we're going to try to create as safe and healthy environment as we can possibly create. So I know that was a long report, but that was the big item right now.
Yeah, and it's with the cases, the spike does look like it's coming down, but we're 4 or 5 times our number of cases in the last 2 weeks. Students. I mean, I love them, but I mean, students. So what about the impact on the HANA budget? Are we?
As we indicated at last month's meeting, we're still in the process of evaluating what the impact is, and we'll go through that. We're constantly evaluating that. I asked staff to provide updates for their various divisions or functional areas, if you will, within the department. We'll be evaluating that, and we'll be able to provide some sort of an update, I'm sure, if not in October, certainly November.
Okay. Any comments?
Tim, could I ask you just a couple of questions? I'm not expecting answers tonight, but in discussions with people from the swimming community, the kinds of questions that have come up is, how will reservations be made? How will we be informed that we get a reservation? How will it work in the locker room? Can we make a reservation for a day? Can we make it for a week? Those kinds of logistical questions about how it's practically going to work for us as users. I assume you and the staff are thinking about all of those things. So I just bring those up as lots of questions that those of us in the swimming community are struggling with.
So hopefully you'll get a letter in the mail tomorrow or the next day that answers those questions.
Good, thank you.
And if we have your email address on file as a pass holder, you should have received an email, but obviously you didn't. So I'm going to follow up on that and make sure we get you an email with all of this information. We put out a letter and then what I call the fact sheet that answers all of those questions.
I can't tell you that my email is on file. Is there something I can do to make sure that that's the case?
We know what your email is.
Yes, you do. I can't hide from you.
So that will be followed up on tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
I will make sure, I'll make sure it gets added if it's
Thank
not.
you, Jane.
I didn't get mine either. I'm a pass holder. I didn't get my email either, so I'm gonna find
Well, good,
out.
I don't feel so bad.
Oh,
Okay, is that it, Tim, for the staff and director
yeah,
communications?
yes, unless Jane or Wendy tell me I forgot something.
I think Wendy left. At least I don't see her. Okay, commissioner communication. Meryl, do you have something?
No, I haven't. I have nothing.
Chuck, do you have something?
A question on the Hannah Center recommendations. I have made an assumption that may be wrong, that it's in the short term has kind of gotten lost in the COVID and city budget shuffle. But so what is the status of any consideration that may be going on with the recommendations that were made by the Hannah group that John and I both participated in?
It's a good question, and you're right. Everything got sort of pushed.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
So certainly it's not going to be on a November ballot, if you know.
Well, yes, we know that.
So we've got two new members of city council, and that's going to have to be something that gets read. And I had left a voicemail with our finance director because the week before the COVID was going to hit, we were going to meet with a bond sort of, I don't want to say it's bond counsel because that's not the correct term, but someone that we work with respect to making some suggestions for long-term funding. And that of course got canceled back in March. So I'm trying to get that back on the schedule. Once that happens, then we'll certainly provide the information to the commission.
Good. Thank you, Tim. And if you need my help or John's, we will both be glad to jump in and help out. Thank you.
Absolutely.
We'll be in contact.
All right, John, do you have comments? I feel like this looks exactly like the Brady Bunch intro to me right now. Like usually I go around the table, but now I'm just going through these squares. So John,
Yeah, but everybody's square is different. So right now, Alex is Alice for the Brady Bunch. And I'm Mike.
There we go.
Yes, yes.
Jane is Carol Brady. Anyway, no, I have no comment today, right now.
Alex, do you have something?
Marcia. No, thank you. I'm all good.
And Wendy?
I just share with everybody, and I've been getting booted off a lot, so if this has already been brought up, I apologize for that. But we have a ribbon cutting scheduled for the Patriarch Park baseball field improvements project, and we'll be letting you all know that formally, but just to give you the heads up, we're looking at 3 o'clock on Tuesday, September 29th. So we'll be sending you a notification of that. And Justin, who happens to be our jack of all trades in the department, is helping to plan that for us. So we'll be sure to let you know, get you a reminder when that date gets closer. Thank you.
What about Bailey too, Wendy?
A Bailey one too?
We have scheduled, I believe, a ribbon cutting for Bailey, and because I was thinking of the Patriarch one, I'm not remembering when Bailey is. Do you remember, Chuck?
I do not. I can't tell you that I ever knew.
Oh, actually, I don't think I've communicated with you yet on that. It's towards the end of October, or the middle or end of October.
Right
So
now,
we'll
it's
make
going to be
sure-
the 23rd of October at 2 p.m.
Super, thank you.
Those are times and dates that cleared with city council type of schedules and that type of thing.
So, but you will send us another notice about Patriarch and Bailey both?
Sure.
Yes, absolutely.
That'll give me time to take my tux to the cleaners.
Bailey really is looking amazing. If anybody gets out through the neighborhood there, definitely swing by. That's just really a beautiful park.
It really is.
It's absolutely fabulous. People love it in the neighborhood. It's a hit.
Yeah, it really is. All right. Move to adjourn.
Oh, so move.
All right. We're adjourned. Have a good month, everybody.
Bye,
Good seeing
everybody.
y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.